Hey, welcome to Planet Hex. I'm Andrew Horn. This is a show where I talk about pop culture stuff, movies, VHS, lots of VHS, and all kinds of good stuff like that. Tonight I'm going to talk about comics. I do have a great deal of love for comics. Have done my entire life. I've even written for comics such as Femforce, Super Babes, and Violet Shadow for AC Comics. And over here in the UK, I've written content for Doctor Who Adventures for Panini and Judge Dredd magazine for Rebellion. And I don't always keep up with comic book news lately, so I thought tonight on this episode of Planet Hex I would do some comic book news and just see how things are going in in my favourite printed medium. Because sometimes it is hard to follow what's going on. Sometimes the characters go off at a tangent, entire franchises go off at a tangent, then you've got all the crossovers and things like that, and it's very easy to get lost in it all. As with everything at the moment, there is, I feel, too much. There's too much to follow everything. There's too much to keep aware of everything. It's just not possible to keep up with everything that you want to and still have some kind of life. I mean, I work full time. I do my writing. I've got channels like this, and parenthood and all kinds of other things. And at some point, I need to sleep and occasionally bathe, and it's difficult to fit it in. And I know that I've watched some more TV and more movies lately, so my awareness of comics has dropped. So when my awareness of comics is higher, my awareness of movies and TV is lower, and games and things. There's just so much at the moment, it's easy to become really overwhelmed by it all. So I thought tonight on this episode of Planet Hex, we would go and check out some of the stories that have been posted recently on some of the best comic book websites out there. So I've picked a few stories to talk about on this episode. Some that sound really cool, some that sound useful, and some that I'm just a bit confused about. So let's go and take a look at what we've got here tonight. So the first one I've opened up is over on comicbook.com, and it's the weekly poll. So that's the list of titles that have come out this week or recently that are worth picking up. So let's go and have a look at some of these, because I may not have heard of most of these. Let's see. So we've got Fish Flies from Image. That's a nice art style. I like the art style there. Written and drawn by Jeff Lemire, and colours. There's quite a lot there. That sounds good. So it's set in rural Canada, involving crime, generational trauma, and a dash of magical realism. See, I find it interesting that Image have really branched out and really broadened their horizons since their early days. I mean, I came on board with Image as a fan in the early 90s when it was all muscles and pouches. So as you can imagine, it's been fascinating watching them grow into this really considerably respected label, comics publisher even label, and it's really interesting to see that, and the different things that they've been publishing. Yeah, they still do the muscles and guns and pouches sometimes, but it's really interesting to see some more artistic and thoughtful stuff as well. So also on this list, by G. Willow Wilson, Chris Wildgoose, and M. Sassy K. I'm sorry if that's wrong. The Hunger and the Dusk. That's IDW, so it's an IDW title. You know that's going to be pretty. So as a rule, generally IDW titles are really, really beautiful to look at. So it's written by G. Willow Wilson, art by Chris Wildgoose. Let's see what we've got here. G. Willow Wilson has earned her place as one of the top writers in mainstream comics today, and rightly so. Extremely talented writer. Of course, one of the people behind Ms. Marvel and so on. So, for this one, she turns to an original fantasy saga, teaming with artist Chris Wildgoose, who's previously impressed on series like Alienated and Batgirl. I think I have read some of his Batgirl run on the original IDW series, The Hunger in the Dusk. It's a high fantasy saga. So it brings readers to a dying fantasy world where only humans and orcs remain to fight over what's left. That sounds good. The disaster on the horizon, the future of this world may rest in the unlikely pairing of the orc healer Tara and the human warrior Callum Battlechild. I like the sound of that. And that's got sort of the... I could see that basically with like a Vallejo or Frazetta painting. Probably a Frazetta painting more than Vallejo as a cover as well. That sounds fun. Okay, we got Night Terrors 1, Zatanna. That's great artwork. Bit of a Doom Patrol crossover there, written by Dennis Culver, art by David Baldian. So this is an interesting one. I'm not too sure what this series is about. It's teaming Zatanna with Robot Man, and it appears to be a big event from DC. So I'm really behind on the big events, which is one of the reasons I think that non-comics fans are put off by the medium. It is not easy to pick a title up and instantly be brought into it. I find that anyway lately. Probably just because I don't buy them as much as I used to. But it is hard to get back into things if it's like an established title and you see things you don't expect. But I like the art style there. I like the pairing of Robot Man and Zatanna. I think that's a really interesting pairing. So I may check that out. Sirens of the City. Now I'm already sold on this because it's got a cool punk on the cover. All for that. It looks like a 42nd Street sort of mad location. It says here, there's a lot about the general conceit of Sirens of the City that appeals to me. The creative team of Joanne Starr and Kari Randolph, the punk rock setting and the feminist undertones. This new debut issue follows Layla, a runaway teen whose secret pregnancy brings her toe-to-toe with a supernatural phenomenon. Sirens of the City has the makings of a subversive Sandman-esque adventure, and I look forward to going on its journey. So, Jenna Anderson, the reviewer there, has mentioned Sandman in the same paragraph for this, so that immediately gets my interest up. Sandman was wonderful. It was a work of art. It was beautiful, and anything that brings an element of magical weirdness into a mundane setting, I'm all for that. I think that's awesome. So I think that one may have to go on my own buy pile. So we got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Annual 2023 number 1. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of Time. It's published by IDW. It's an annual, $6.99, but that is very evocative of the old Eastman and Laird original run of TMNT comics. I like the look of that a lot. Again, I'm a bit lost with the TMNT lore. I kind of stepped away from it. Is that Raph? It appears to have got like a robot arm. Don't know what's going on there, but there's some of the turtles that are unconscious or dead, perhaps on the on the roof there. And it looks amazing. So it's really hard to follow. I've taken a bit of a back step from TMNT as an ongoing thing that I'm into because of the live action movies, the multiple animated movies, the animated series. There's just, again, there's too much of it. There doesn't seem to be a definite core to the overall franchise at the moment, and that's sad because that does look really good. Let's see, they've had some big events like the Armageddon game and things like that. So what's going on in this annual? Let's have a look. Taking place before the first post-Armageddon game issue, so it's already taking place in a different part of continuity of the ongoing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles series. The annual looks like the turning point in which the Ninja Turtles ongoing saga pivots away from the conflict with the Rat King. Who's the Rat King? And picks up other story threads weaved into the background of the ongoing title. See, I'm quite curious here, specifically the mysterious future that Donatello previously visited. Is he having like future visions, like the Flash did in Justice League? Sorry, habit. Yeah, I'm not sure. It says Turtle fans don't want to miss it, and it should serve as a solid jumping on point for newcomers. If it's a solid jumping on point for newcomers, I could well be interested in that. I am, I need a hook to bring me back into TMNT because I've been away from him for a long time. Used to love the figures and so on, the animated shows, the live action movies, but just even despite growing older, I'm always going to be a massive dork. But it just kind of fell by the wayside for me, Ninja Turtles, because there's been so much of it to follow. But I like the art style there. That looks good anyway. Web of Carnage. I put this. I may put this on my list because, how can I not? I love Carnage. It's a lot of fun. Cover alone featuring Carnage and Morlun. I'm guessing it's a vampire character. Looks fun. I like it when you see Carnage fighting supernatural creatures that aren't just symbiotes. So that could be a good one. It's an eye-catching cover, and that would pull me over to at least flick through it in the store. So that's one of the things that is a selling point for me. I do have to have a flick through and make sure the art style, the interior art style, lives up to the promise of the cover. Because in a lot of cases, they really don't. You know, you may get an amazing painted cover or something like that, but you won't get decent internal art. It just doesn't balance out. Let me turn my mic down slightly. How's that? Don't want it to be clipping too much for you. But it looks fun. That would be eye-catching, and I think that would draw me over to it on the shelf to have a flick through and see what the internal art is like. World's Finest Teen Titans. Now this straight away is one that I would pull my attention over. Look at that cover. From the page to Batman, Superman, World's Finest, the original team is back. That's a really cool looking cover. Yep, it's another issue 1. Things are starting over again. But it looks like a nice return to a classic, more classic style. And I'd be interested to have a look at that, definitely. I like it when titles go back to the core of what made them in the first place. I think that's an interesting thing to see how they can be brought to a newer audience. I think it was done beautifully back in the early 2000s with the Ultimates line for Marvel. So if anything could be brought back, well, I'm up for looking at that. So that takes me to the end of that piece on comicbook.com. The next thing I've got open here is Amazing Spider-Man to give Marvel's Mary Jane Watson a familiar superhero mantle. This is from July the 6th, so it's about a week ago. So Mary Jane's about to take a new role in the Marvel Universe. So MJ will probably be assuming the mantle of Jackpot. So she's become a superhero. And that's a cool costume. But this is weird to me. And I think this would be weird to anyone that's going to pick it up that's not a regular reader, that's not stuck with these things. It's putting off new readers and it's putting off young readers because they're going to pick this up and go, who the hell is Jackpot? I just want Spider-Man and Ghost Spider and so on. So the MJ we know from that a generation has grown up with in movies such as like Kirsten Dunst and Zendaya, they're not going to realise that that's MJ with superpowers. It's going to be kind of off-putting, and the older readers are going to be like me, go, what? She has powers? So I really feel out of the loop with this. So Jackpot, as stated there, since 2007 Marvel has produced 2 incarnations of Jackpot. First a scientist named Sarah Ehret, and later a young woman named Alana Jobson, who literally bought the Jackpot secret identity. Okay, so now MJ is becoming that character. I'm a little weirded out by side characters becoming heroes. I know that they need to do some new stuff with it. It'd be interesting to see how that is handled. Again, may pick it up and have a look through on the shelves. Okay, let's go over to CBR, so comicbookresources.com. DC Universe Infinite adds Kodansha manga series and backlist titles and more. So this is cool. The DC Universe Infinite service is expanding with more to check out. This is quite good. So via the DC Universe Infinite app, they've added a lot of stuff that you can check out here. So they've unveiled Joker, One Operation Joker, Superman vs. Meshi, and Batman Justice Buster as first of the titles that have been being available to paying subscribers of its digital platform. So if you're a paying subscriber, there's some interesting stuff coming to DC Universe Infinite, and why not? If you can't get out to comic stores, if you don't want to buy individual issues, something like DC Universe Infinite or the Marvel Digital Service, they are a great idea. They're a fantastic idea. So that looks pretty cool. Here we've got is She-Venom. Again, loads of symbiotes. That artwork though, the eye-catching artwork, that is something that companies are doing really well at the moment, and I really, really enjoy, is the fact that they are getting these covers so right. Really eye-catching covers, and as long as those interiors match the quality, or at least something almost on that level, then I'm in. Marvel has released a variant cover for Death of the Venomverse 2. Why is there a Venomverse featuring She-Venom? The multiversal thing is just getting confusing. And I will kind of be glad when the multiverse saga ends and the interest in the multiverse ends, because I do think it's putting off audiences in huge swathes, as we've seen with the MCU, and people are just flocking away from it at the moment. The Multiverse Saga hasn't had the same impact at all as the Infinity Saga, and I'm really sad about that, because the MCU is such a beautiful thing. But yeah, that cover, what a cover. Love it. Worth checking out, I would imagine. This got me a bit confused. So there's a new Days of Future Past story. Now, Days of Future Past is one of the greatest X-Men stories ever, and it was recreated in a movie. So X-Men Days of Future Past, for a lot of you that have seen that, fantastic story. So it looks like this is being continued. All right, folks, everyone gather around for Marvel's latest recycling project. Yes, I'm with you there, Jude Terra. Behold, X-Men Days of Future Past Doomsday Issue 1. So that's due to come out today. I'm filming this on Wednesday, recording this on Wednesday, July the 12th. So it's revisiting the story of Days of Future Past and revealing the untold events that lead us there. So, okay, so we've got stuff like Senator Kelly's assassination and the Mutant Control Act and things like that. So it's like missing stories from the era of Days of Future Past. And again, the constant revisiting of classic stories and embellishing them and filling things out destroys a lot of the mystique around them, I think. There's absolutely nothing wrong with Days of Future Past. It was great. Yeah, the movie changed a lot, but the like who did what. I mean, the main character is Kitty Pryde in the old one, and in the movie it's Wolverine, and that was okay. You could understand it because Wolverine's such a popular, bankable character. But when you start going back and messing with the comics, it's like DC doing Batman the Killing Joke, the other bits. You know, it's not something that really speaks to me as a reader and kind of destroys some of the mystique around things. And that's a real shame, I think. So I'm not sure what to make of that. It's nice to see the old school Sentinels and things like that again. But, you know, I don't think it's really for me, that one. So, we've got a list here of 10 most philosophical DC comics. This isn't like news, but I thought this sounded interesting. I can already see 3 that I agree with at the top: Sandman, Invisibles, and V for Vendetta. I'm wondering if Transmetropolitan will be in here. I love Transmetropolitan. That was a big favourite when I was working in the comic shop days. So, I bet we'll have Watchmen on there. I bet Transmetropolitan's on there. What else from DC? Let's find out. Yep, Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol run. That's Simon Bisley art. I love Simon Bisley. Yeah, Grant Morrison's Doom Patrol run. I agree with that. Swamp Thing, Alan Moore's Swamp Thing. Yes, a very famous run. Was that the one where you had Bernie Wrightson doing the artwork? Steve Bissett, John Totleben, Rich Veitch, and many others. Sorry, the Bernie Wrightson was much earlier. I do apologise. So that's an interesting one. Swamp Thing is an interesting character because, done correctly, he's a beautifully tragic figure, and I can understand that being a thing, a particularly philosophical title. Yeah, I get that. Jack Kirby's Fourth World. So this was an interesting one. So Jack Kirby, he really had the reins taken off him for Fourth World and things like New Gods and so on. Absolutely crazy. The lengths that he would go to and the depth of that storytelling is really good. I get that one totally. The lovely sci-fi feel, that lovely blocky artwork. It's Jack Kirby, so you need to buy that anyway. Flex Mentallo, Man of Muscle Mystery. I'm not familiar with that one. Is that Frank Quietly on the cover there? Yeah, Frank Quietly. Written by Grant Morrison. You know that's going to be good. Not one I'm familiar with, so I may have to revisit that one. Of course, Dark Knight Returns is on here, and there's been some deconstruction of Frank Miller's work in recent times. I mean, no one's going to stay the same level forever. But the things that Frank Miller did at the height of his career cannot be knocked aside. So Dark Knight Returns was incredible. Sin City was incredible. The whole art style of Sin City with the black and white artwork was just superb, and the proper gritty scripts. Dark Knight Returns, you can't really knock it. I mean, it's not really what I it's not a favourite of mine, but it is impossible to complain about Dark Knight Returns. It is a classic. You know, same things like Long Halloween and things. I would put that up there with that one. Granted, not on the same sort of level as Dark Knight Returns, but Long Halloween is a really good one too. Watchmen's number 5. And a few years ago, before the movie and before the TV series and before the follow-up Watchmen series and the spin-offs and whatnot, Watchmen would have been number 1. Absolutely the most beloved graphic novel of all time for a long, long time. And I like the movie. I like the movie a lot. I've not seen the series, but I don't think it really needed to be continued in comics. I think Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons did a great job with it. Yeah, of course Alan Moore's disowned it since then, and Dave Gibbons hasn't. But it's beautiful. Oh, Preacher, of course, Preacher's on there. Preacher was, in my comic book shop days, Preacher was one of the most consistently well-selling titles out of everything. The graphic novels were a constant seller. Every day we would sell at least 2 or 3 of those every day. Same with Sandman. They were always selling, so I totally get that. The Sandman's number 3. Neil Gaiman's big, sprawling masterpiece is just beyond reproach, and the TV series was beautiful as well. V for Vendetta, yep, absolutely there. V for Vendetta. I'm not sure what number 1 would be in that case. Apparently V for Vendetta was recently banned in some school libraries. What a stupid thing to do. Yeah. The Invisibles. Okay, so CBR has got The Invisibles list as number 1 most deeply philosophical and ideological comic of all time. That is interesting. So Grant Morrison enjoys injecting autobiographical material into the stories. The Invisible were almost entirely dedicated to this premise. Yeah, Grant used a lot of these characters as facets of the own of an overall personality, and it was very good. I wouldn't have put it at number 1. I wouldn't have put it at number 1 personally, but I think that is a good choice. But I am a little bit disappointed that there's no Transmetropolitan on there. How dare you not put Spider Jerusalem on there? That's crazy. So let's have a look what else we've got here. So there's been a new team of Thunderbolts revealed. This is over on Comic Book Resources again, cbr.com, where I wasted a lot of my time. There's a new Thunderbolts series, Thunderbolts 1, starting over again. And Bucky Barnes will be the leader. So Winter Soldier will be the leader of the new Thunderbolts team. And a new variant of this team in December. Let's see who else is on this team. Okay, so the new team will feature Black Widow, Sharon Carter, aka Destroyer, White Widow, Red Guardian, US Agent, and Shang-Chi. That's an interesting one. I guess none of them are really big enough at the moment to carry a book on their own, and it's nice to see Shang-Chi added in there. It's an odd addition to Thunderbolts. Do like the cover art though. That's cool. Yeah, may well check that out. Yeah, I like Thunderbolts. It's a bit more scrappy than the traditional like superhero squads. Over on Bleeding Cool, I've gone on and had a look through the some stories on Bleeding Cool there, and got reveal Cyclops of the X-Men promises something soon from Ms. Marvel. So this was a really silly idea. I was listening to a lot of comics podcasts recently that have talked about the death of Ms. Marvel, how it is like apparently for good an actual death, and it's not like a temporary comic book one. But I don't believe that. You know, these things never last. So I don't entirely I think that she's going to stay dead for long. A character that's that big and that beloved, especially with the TV series being so big, the Marvels coming out, and a second series of Ms. Marvel apparently in the works, from what I understand. It's I can't imagine they'll keep her dead for long. It says when Cyclops was young, he travelled in time to the near future of the Marvel present and joined the Champions team alongside other teenage superheroes, including Kamala Khan. Now, with the death of Ms. Marvel, he finds himself late to her memorial service in today's Fallen Friend, The Death of Ms. Marvel, which came out today, and the focus of a special extra page available with today's comic, which had just gone live, unable to be spoiled early for early distributors or malevolent printers. It just says not today, but soon. And then a QR code that was shared with reviewers of the comic, but resolved to this web address, Fallen Friend Bonus, which first the following phrase, not today but soon, and now updated with the following page. Ooh, an extra page of the comic. Let's have a look at this. A nice art style, a bit of a John Romita Jr. style in there. Incidentally, speaking of Romita, I just listened to the most recent edition of Comic Geek Speak, and there's a beautiful tribute to John Romita Sr. on there. Do check that out. You'll understand, Spider-Man, not today, but soon, to be continued. Okay. I'm interested in this. It's going to be interesting to see how they bring it back, especially after all the controversy surrounding her apparent death. So, what else have we got on here? The Comic Creator Special Thanks List for Secret Invasion Episode 4. I like this stuff. I like to see these things, people being respected on these things. I like this. The credits have dropped to Kurt Busiek, Chris Claremont and Jim Craig from last week. Not had anyone new. So this week, let's see some of the big names here. We've got Brian Michael Bendis on there, John Byrne, Peter David, Al Ewing, Gary Frank, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, of course, Roy Thomas, Christian Ward. There's some great names there. It's nice to see these people being called out and respectfully called out in things that are related to things they created. It's like the thing where it's nice to see Bill Finger being quoted on Batman stuff. So, I've already talked about the Thunderbolts one. One of the X-Men's deadliest enemies quietly connects Marvel's most important origin stories together. I think this one's a bit weird, because it may be an amazing story. In X-Men Before the Fall, the Sinister Four issue 1, which is now on sale from Marvel. It's a follow-up from the Fall of X, which has been going on, but it's the character, this villain, Dr. Stasis, has already had some connections with the Marvel Universe, so he kind of, not retconning the past, but like nailing it all together haphazardly. I don't like this. I don't think everything should be interconnected. Some stuff should just be left as random. So we'll have to see how that pans out, but that doesn't really appeal, to be honest. So we've got, to finish up, we've got 3 here that are just cool. 10 flashiest Flash comic covers of all time. Because with the whole thing surrounding the Flash movie, it's nice to get back to some of the comics. So let's have a look at some of these. My connection is so slow tonight. That's a nice one. Yeah, I like it with the many flashes denoting speed. That's a really cool idea. I do like that. Oh, these are classic. These beautiful classic art style. With the amount of stuff that is out there, it is nice to just revisit some of the classics and some of the older titles, just to take in the quality of the artwork. Yeah, it doesn't have like the digital colours and the flashy styles of now, but without this, none of that would exist now. It's all part of the story of this medium, and I just love that. What's going on here? I'm missing some images on that page. I've got a bit of a browser problem there. Overclocking the computer as ever. Let's have a look at this biggest sales gimmicks in comics history. 10 biggest sales gimmicks in comics history. Okay, so it's Crisis on Infinite Earths, weddings, let's think, Wolverine's death, Superman's death, Reign of the Supermen. Let's have a look. Superhero grudge matches, yep, so Batman v Superman always gets the readers in. Intercompany crossovers, yeah, there's some Marvel and DC stuff. Let's there's classic JLA and Avengers. I was thinking more amalgam. First appearances, yeah, first appearances are always going to be a big draw for a lot of people. Relaunch titles, So Batman Brave and the Bold, Hawk Girl, Dawn DC, Steelworks. Yeah. Yeah, they say there, perhaps the surest way to get a short-term sales boost is relaunching a comic book title, especially a long-running and popular one. You know, but that is limited. That is limited in scope. It won't last that. The multiverse. Ever since the idea of Flash of Two Worlds story in the Flash 123, the multiverse has been one of the easiest gimmicks in comics. Yeah. In fact, heroes like Miles Morales are a direct result of the idea of alternate worlds from the Ultimates version of Marvel Comics. It's not just a good way to tell endless out-of-continuity stories, it's also handy for fixing mistakes made in canon. For example, the multiverse allowed DC a quick fix for brightening up Superman after the New 52, restoring the post-crisis version of the hero to canon. Anything that gets rid of the New 52 is good in my book. Mantle swaps. Okay, so yeah, different characters being given the name The Flash, or passing things on, or Damian Wayne as Batman and so on. That's a good one. Wedding stories. Yeah. Return of stories, yeah, get that. I thought these were going to be more like individual examples. Variant covers don't really not made that much of a draw. Number one, Death of Superman. Of course, it was a news story. It hit TV channels. It hit newspapers, magazines around the world. It was a massive deal that DC were killing off Superman. And then there was the story World Without a Superman, and of course Reign of the Supermen, when we got Steel, the Eradicator, Superboy and Cyborg Superman all claiming to be Superman brought back from the dead. And it was done well to varying levels of with varying levels of success. But that was one I enjoyed greatly. So to finish up this episode of Planet Hex, looking at recent comic book stories posted by some of the biggest comic book sites around, I'm going to take a look at go back to comicbook.com and take a look at the best comics of 2023 so far. So I think I'm going to make a bit of a shopping list here. 20th Century Men, nice sci-fi looking one there that I haven't read. It was on the promise of superheroes as mythology in a way that few superhero comics do. 6 issue long. Okay, so 6 issues is not too long, so that's one worth taking a look at. A masterpiece and an essential work, says Jamie Lovett. May have to have a look at that, Jamie. Akane Banashé, sorry, published by Viz. That's like a manga title. Nice art style. Remained a surprising delight for Shonen Jump audiences, with Akane exploring the traditions of Rakugo and bringing the behind-the-scenes drama of this traditional type of Japanese vaudeville-esque performance to life in an engaging, captivating way. That sounds really good, really different. Comic not only explores a corner of Japanese culture that's been overlooked by international audiences, it does so in a way that reminds the reader that even in traditional art forms and hobbies can be relevant to the modern audience. So says Christian Hoffer. That's a really good review. I may have to take a look at that. I love anything to do with behind the scenes of shows or anything like that. Sounds fun. All Against All. Nice cover. And it's got the synthwave glitchy artwork and coloration there. I love that. The recently arrived collection of All Against All stands as a declaration for comics readers that they ought to pay attention to two tremendous rising talents who simply don't miss. Writer Alex Packnadel and artist Casper Wingard. Okay, their apocalyptic tale takes place after the end of life on Earth, when aliens harvest a planet for genetic material to generate potentially useful life forms in their own unending war. This is cool. That sounds really good. I think there's a lot more depth to that than the cover suggests, so I'm game for that. I'll have a look at that. Batman Superman World's Finest, classic. World's Finest is always a good draw. A 6-issue limited series, Blue Beetle Graduation Day. I love the artwork there. There's definitely a manga touch there. I like that. Blue Box. Okay, we've got another manga. Who's this published by? Is that Viz again? Yeah, Viz. Not to be confused with Adult Humour Comic Viz from over here in the UK. So, teen rom-com manga, but doing it a different way. Cool. Captain Marvel. I have a soft spot for Captain Marvel. Yeah, I know people complain about the movie. I enjoyed the movie. I enjoyed her appearances in Endgame. I'm looking forward to the Marvels. I think this is a really good title to a really good character. And there seems to be some multiversal things going on here. She's got a cape there and fire there. It's been depicted. Are they all Carol? Don't know. Let's have a look there. Sounds like a good way to bring a lot of disparate threads together. I may have to check that out. I have a soft spot for Captain Marvel. I do think she's a really good character. Chainsaw Man, again from Viz. Yeah, say no more. I'm sold on Chainsaw Man. Nice to hear it's good. Okay. Some grungy 90s style artwork on Clobbering Time. Featuring the Hulk and Thing. Both looking rather worse for wear there. So, I distinctly remember putting down the first issue of Steve Scrose's Clobbering Time and thinking, I didn't think Marvel made comics like this anymore. Comics like what, you ask? Comic books where the stones that make up the Thing's hide are nearly peeled from his body before he and the Hulk tear monsters apart in full gory glory on a stunning splash page. Okay, I'm sold. And we've got one from Boom called Damn Them All. Not heard of that one. Ghost Rider. It's nice to see the old characters still making it to these lists. That's a great cover. Gospel. Dawn of DC Green Arrow. It's another reboot. It's time for a family reunion, even if it kills them. Hairball. Dark Horse Comics, a cat, watercolour. There's a severed finger on there. Yeah, I'm there for that. Harrower. Hellcat. Nice to see Hellcat getting some love. Bit of a generic cover, but if it's decent, then it's decent, you know. So it's been an interesting night looking through the comic book story, recent comic book stories from across the internet. I may well do this again soon. This has been a fun thing to do. Try and catch up with stuff. Yeah, as I say, this has been filmed on Wednesday night. As I'm playing a concert this coming Saturday in Nottingham City Centre as a guitar player for John Doyle Band. It'll be my third time appearing with John Doyle Band as a guest guitarist, so that'll be entertaining. There's a lot of stuff out. It is a little overwhelming, even just looking through the. I'm not sure about that Superman. Even just looking through the stuff I've seen tonight, it's kind of overwhelming to see the amount of stuff I've missed and the amount of time it would take that you'd need to put into these things to really understand everything that's being referred to, and that's a bit of a shame because it can be off-putting. But that's X-O Manowar cover. I remember that from the Valiant days. That's pretty cool. So yeah, it's been an enjoyable look around what's been going on in the world of comics, and I will be doing this again very soon. Please do like and subscribe if you like this sort of thing. I put out a full-length episode of Planet Hex like this out at the weekend, and in the week I generally do a couple of reviews. Haven't been able to do that this week. Again, it's been crazy busy. There's so much going on at home and at work. I'm really sorry about that. But the weekend episodes, this will be showing up at the weekend on YouTube, and it's here tonight for you guys on Twitch. So thank you very much for joining me for this episode of Planet Hex. I really do appreciate it. If you want to read some more of my retro themed stuff, I've just put out. Have I got a copy of it around here? I thought I had a revised edition of my book VHS in my brain. So do go and check that out. There's links below on the YouTube video where you can check that out. So I'm Andrew Horn, writer, author, YouTubey type person, guitarist, and dad, and very, very tired northerner. I'm going to call it there for the night. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Planet Hex.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and validate my existence.